Hey everyone, John Henry here from School of Trade, and today we're going to be taking a look at a wedge breakout here on gold. Now we just got filled short, two contracts at 1280.5. Stop is going to go above this high up here, 1283.1, so we'll place our buy stop up there. Now we're only short two contracts just because the risk involved with this trade, we're looking at 26 ticks, so we can't risk going in much bigger than two contracts, but the size of this trade definitely offers up a nice little opportunity here. So measure the bottom of the wedge to the top of the wedge, and let's look to see where our first target's going to be here. So first target's going to be down here at 1275.8. So 1275.8, we'll go a couple ticks ahead of it, 76.1, and we're going to place our order to buy down at 76.1. Now, the overall risk reward on this trade is really, really good. It's exactly what we wanted to see. We're risking 26 ticks from our entry down to make, in this case, and I got to change the way the drawing tool works here. From our entry down to our target, we're looking at 44 ticks. So we're actually looking pretty close to a 2-to-1 on this one, and that's why I'm looking to take off two contracts at this drop down here at 76.1. Now, when we hit this 50% area here, when we go halfway the distance of this wedge, I'm going to move my stop to break even, and then I'm going to look to start potentially trailing on the way down the closer and closer we get to our target area down here. Now, if we come, one or two ticks away from our target area, then we're definitely going to be a little bit more aggressive on the trailer on the way down, and we'll try to lock in as much as we can. So what I'll do here is I'll place 77.6. That way I can just erase that tool there, make that a little bit more obvious, and make sure that's actually 77.6. There we go. And we can just get rid of that. Perfect. So once we hit the 77.6, stop is going to go to break even, and that way we know that we can, start plotting everything on there. Now, was that the 50%? Let me just double check that again, or was that the 70? Yeah, that was 50%. Perfect. So again, once we hit that 77.6, stop goes from up here at 83.1 to break even, and we're just looking to gun down here to that 76.1. Now, the reason I really, really like this trade is we really had a lot of interesting price action here on gold. We've come down off of these highs, moved into a little bit of consolidation where we caught a double bottom, moved higher and attempted to go higher, but you can see if we draw a line across the top here, the sellers really were defending this area very strongly, and it was nothing but wick on that first attempt there, and we fell back down. And that's where we actually created the low of that wedge, connecting those 2 points together, where price came back up and attempted it again. Now, we did close above that high, but if we go to the subsequent high that tested that, we never closed above there. Now, it gets more interesting than that, because as soon as we pulled back, where a lot of buyers are going to be hopping in, we had a big, strong buying candle immediately rejected by huge block selling, smashing it right back down, closing outside of the wedge. Just very, very nice area looking to hop into a wedge break. And in this case, it gives us a really nice opportunity for a gorgeous reward versus risk on this. Again, looking at 26 ticks of risk for 44 ticks of profit on two contracts. If we bank this trade here at 44, we're up $880. Not risking a whole lot, only putting two contracts on the table, and when we get halfway there, we're going to be moving our stop to break even and reducing our risk even further. So really, really good setup in terms of price action. It's probably going to take a little bit of time to get there. Price action setups always take their sweet time. We're looking at a 5-minute chart here on gold. It can take, it might only take 5 minutes to get down to our target. Probably not, but you're probably looking at 30, 40, 50-minute trades in terms of this type of setup with advanced price action. So we'll be back in a little while just to see how the trade turns out, and let's turn on our plots here. There we go. So we can see we're short 1280.5. Looking to gun down to 76.1, stop going to 77.6. If we get near our target and start rejecting, we will look to trail our stop on the way down. Now, like I was saying, this trade does get a little bit more interesting when we had that strong sell-off underneath there that's giving us a lot of legs to this location. Now, one thing that I would really like to see is for us to close underneath this low. We did pierce it. So if there were stops below that, we definitely caught them, but now we need to see some conviction from the sellers and really push this thing down. We already have the strong conviction with the close outside, and everything's really pointing in our direction, but again, we kind of want to see that little bit of extra. Now, as we fall down here, if we do start seeing the confirmation and closing below this low at 1280.3, then we can look to ratchet our stop in a little bit closer at around 1282.5, just to be a little bit more conservative and try to eke out a little bit more on that risk reward. So we'll be back in a little bit, and we'll see how the trade turns out. All right, folks, just a quick little update here. Looking at this price action, we had this huge spike lower that tagged at 77.6. We got our stop move down to break even, but looking at this, we had a really, really nice looking fake out of these highs and then another sell off back to the lows. But it looks like we're having a little bit of difficulty down here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually lock my stop in just above this little fake out high here so that if they are going to come back up and hit that area, at least we'll be banking a little bit on the trade, but they're also probably going to be tagging quite a few stops up in this location, and I don't want to be stuck in a stop run back up to my entry just to get stopped out of break even when I could have made a little bit of profit. So currently right now from our entry, we've got 14 ticks locked in on 2 contracts, so we know that we're up about $280 guaranteed. Now we can just kind of let the trade work out. So just wanted to give a quick update here. I've been sitting in the trade for quite a while now. We've been short around 855. Really around 850 shortly after that candle closed, and we're going on 920, coming into 930 now into the open. So we'll see if the open wants to give us a little bit of a bump in one direction, but that's really for the indices more than anything else. But we'll keep hanging on, and we'll see if it wants to give us that 76.1. All right, folks, we're back. We're getting another fake out of this area, so I'm actually going to take one contract off here, and I'm going to look to try to profit a little bit more on this. So we're looking at one contract at 76.1, and I'm looking for another subsequent sell-off of this low. Every time the buyers try to take over, we get hammered right back down again. So one contract here at 76.1, I'm going to lock my stop in a little bit closer just to be safe of this little fake out up back again here at 77.6. So we'll see if the sellers can get us down here. Now, in terms of the second target here, we're going to measure this up again, and let's see what we can get here. So measuring from the low back up. Looking at a 200% extension here at 72.2, that might be a little bit aggressive because now you're looking at, a 100 tick fall off of this wedge. And typically when you have that kind of movement with these kinds of fake outs, we had that strong push down and now we're kind of meandering down again. We don't want to see this start breaking up. So if anything, to get down to a 200%, we're probably going to need to see a little bit of a rally first and then for it to fall back down again. We're firmly in profit on this position, so no worry about losing money on this at all. But a little bit concerned about getting down to the 200. Instead of going for 200, what we're going to look to do is instead of 200, we're going to go to 175, just to be a little bit more conservative because of the aggressiveness we're seeing coming in from the sellers. At 73.1, we're going to go even a couple ticks ahead of that at 73.4. So we're looking at 73.4 for a final target here, just ahead of 175% of that range. And again, the reason being is we're seeing these aggressive little shots down. And whenever you see those quick bursts down, a lot of times it's followed up with a little bit of a profit-taking rally. And I don't want to get stuck in having to wait for another, we're already going into 940. I don't want to get stuck waiting another hour just to have it come right back up on a profit-taking rally and stopping me out at break even. So we got our stop locked in here at 78.0 or 78 even, 2 contracts. We adjusted a little bit. We're taking one contract here at 76.1, and we're looking at the final runner here at 73.4. Catching a little bit of selling pressure coming in, and see there's another pop in that selling, so we got to be cautious around these areas. Let's see if they can get that little burst down to fill this 76.1 here, and we'll see how long it'll take to get down to this next target here at 73.4 if it wants to go. Again, I mean, just from our stop here, if it does decide to for some reason come back, we still got 25 on 2 contracts locked in, so we're still up $500 on the trade. So we're already past our typical return on these trades, so I'm already sitting happy. But if we can get this first target filled here down at 44 ticks, and we can get that second push down, another slam down lower, we're looking at a huge trade. I mean, 71 ticks and another 44. Obviously, it depends on if they want to actually get that shoved down from the sellers here. But it looks like they want to attempt this first area here, so let's see if they have what it takes. Wonderful, and they got it. So perfect. We got that first target there locked in, 44 ticks in the bank. Let's change our stop here to 1 contract, and you can see there's that's another burst from the sellers. So we're bursting into this 100% area. We've got to be careful in this location. If we see much of a profit-taking rally here, we've got to be really, really careful because we're bouncing in the typical area where you're going to see price reject, and this is another strong leg down after a fake out. We've got our stop locked in, 78. So worst case, we got 44 already, and we've got locked in another 25. So we're sitting pretty on the trade regardless. But let's see if they can get down to that 73.4 and lock us in some nice profit. So we'll be back in a little bit with follow-up, and we'll see how this trade works out. All right, folks, we're back. Just a quick little update here. We're actually forming a little bit of a flag pattern here. So what I want to do is I'm going to actually add to this position if we can break below this. So 75.2, I'm going to place another sell stop. We should be able to get away. Let's measure this real quick from our entry. If this is our high here, 14 ticks, we can actually get away with 3 contracts on that short with our stop up here just above 76.6, looking short. Now, let's measure this up and see if that puts our profit target kind of in the same location, as long as we keep this high here. Now, that actually works out perfectly. We're going to bump our initial target up here a little bit closer. Instead of 73.4, we're going to go to 73.6, just ahead of that flag completion, and we're going to look to take off 4 contracts because we're going short 3 more. So kind of a complex little trade here, but we've got a nice little continuation pattern kind of knocking us into this move. Now, I'm actually going to adjust this to a stop limit for 3 contracts. I don't want to worry about any slippage. With these bursts and selling volume that we've got coming in here, I really don't want to get stuck with any slippage there. So looking at 69 ticks for the final target, but we're going to be short for 4 contracts. This is going to average our position down a little bit, so it's going to be kind of complex in terms of the way that this trade is setting up. But we'll see if this can trigger us in, get us another kind of strong sell burst down here to get our final target down here at 73.6 filled. And then we'll see how we end up on the trade. So we'll be back in a little bit with hopefully quite a bit of money in our wallet. All right, we're coming into our entry here. Let's see if they can get us filled. And we need to close outside of this candle low here, obviously, to give us a strong little sell area. But there we go. Our stop is locked in. 4 contracts short. Just went 3 more short here at 75.2. Final target all the way down here, 73.6, covering 4 contracts now instead of just 1. So let's see if the sellers want to give it to us here. Looking for one more, maybe another spike down. Typically, these spike downs comes in 2s or 3s. And we've already had the second one down, and this flag is giving us a big heads up that we might have another one coming. So short right now, our entry position, because of the average, puts us at 76.5. Just remember, we have 1 contract still short from these highs. So when that one does get hit, it's first in, first out, so we got 69 ticks on that first one, and we're looking for essentially 3 more at this final one of 16. So by the time this trade works out, which actually we're getting that little burst down there, we've already locked in 44. We're going to lock in another 69 if it fills it, plus another 16 at 3. So 16, 16, and 16. So we're looking at 161 ticks on this short, if it can fill us, but I mean, we're just looking at a gargantuan winning trade here. This is the kind that you wish for, back-to-back trades like this that you wish to see every week. And they happen, but they're hard to pick up like this. This is a very, very clear downtrend here. Nice little flag into another sell-off with all these little bursts in selling volume. So just gorgeous patterning here. Just need to see if the sellers want to give it to us now. So we'll be back in a little bit, and hopefully we'll get that extra little burst down in volume. All right, here we go. Coming into our target here, had a nice strong close below that low back here. Lots of reasons to be really, really liking this trade. Our stop's pretty much at break even already because of our average in. Let's see if they want to give it to us here. Coming into our target, and there we go. Bullseye. That's how you nail a trade out of the park. Home run trade. Gorgeous short trade. I mean, you can't really ask for much more than that. And look at that. They've got more legs on it. So that's going to be the short trade on gold. Overall, just a phenomenal trade. $1,610 in the bank, just off of your typical little wedge pattern that just kind of floated into another gorgeous setup. I just can't really ask for much more than that. Pretty much done for the week after that kind of trade. So that's going to be the trade for the day, probably the best trade of the week, and we'll be we'll be looking forward to more trades like this if the week continues, that's for sure. So that's going to be the trade for today. If you have any questions about it, feel free to send an email to School of Trade, and don't forget to check out our trial at schooloftrade.com. Have a good one. Bye.